My name is Dr. Nick Mueller, and I'm the President and CEO of the National World War II Museum. Stephen Ambrose and I became best friends. Steve was our distinguished military historian, and so one day about 1990, he said, I propose that we develop together a small little D-Day museum in the research park where Andy Higgins tested the landing craft. And I said, that's the best idea you ever had, Steve. Let's go do it. And by '95, our board had convinced us that we had to open this museum downtown where the tourists were. And so we bought an old warehouse down here and have expanded from there. When the National D-Day Museum opened on June 6, 2000, it really consisted of, mostly it was the Normandy D-Day invasion. And so it captured the imagination of America at that time, and Congress said, you've got to do all of World War II. And the first way they said we'll try to help is we will pass a law designating this museum as America's official museum for World War II, which they did in 2003. So it was a huge undertaking. And it grew and grew and grew until by 2004, we finally had a master plan and a price tag and are now embarked on a $300 million project. There's several reasons why it's so popular. First of all, this was the biggest war in world history, and all of civilized mankind. There's been nothing on the scale or scope of this war in terms of the numbers of people killed, 65 million, 2/3 of them civilians, the kinds of technology and the weapons that were used. And it required everything this country could muster in terms of the people on the home front as well as on the battlefront to succeed. America was as unified in this war as any time in its history. We prevailed to at least get Phase 4 open, which is the great attraction with Beyond All Boundaries and Tom Hanks. We have a 4D Beyond All Boundaries movie attraction that is unique in the world in terms of the scale, scope, and size and power of that attraction. We have the Stage Door Canteen, which recreates in live experiences the music of the warriors with live performers and musicals that helped to keep our spirits high in World War II and built the morale and lifted the morale of our people at home as well as on the battlefront. We also opened a restoration pavilion last year in 2011 where we are restoring a Higgins PT boat. Now we have two other buildings under construction. One will open next winter in January, the United States Freedom Pavilion, the Boeing Center, and right after that, the Campaigns of Courage Pavilion, where we're going to see in the first one all of these great artifacts and planes and the weapons of war that reflect on the strength of America, and the Campaigns of Courage, which will carry us through chronologically. So after the Campaigns of Courage Pavilion and the U.S. Pavilion are complete, we only have two buildings left, and that will be the Liberation Pavilion, telling the post-war story of what the impact of that war was on America and the world, and then an American Spirit Center, which will be our research and archival center and special exhibit hall. Well, does this experience create emotion in the visitors? Absolutely, absolutely. People come out of Beyond All Boundaries in tears. Just say things like, I had no idea. I had no idea so many people were killed. I had no idea of the significance or the severity of the concentration camps. I had no idea what our country sacrificed. And since we bring this down to personal levels, it touches people on a personal level. It leads to tears, and it also leads to pride and joy as people realize the strength of the American spirit. Well, I'm very happy with the way things have turned out and are turning out. It's far exceeded my expectations. or even my wildest dreams. If you go back to 1990, it was Steve Ambrose. And we are here trying to not build an ordinary museum or a typical museum. People are surprised by what they find in this museum. They're coming here because they've heard about it from other people who've gone home and said, when you go to New Orleans, you have to see this great museum. And I think it's always going to be a great museum, and I think while we're approaching 500,000 people a year now, in 10 or 20 years, I've predicted there'll be millions of people visiting.